Okay, at 7 o'clock, I'll call this regular meeting of the town council to order. Would you please all join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Mrs. Ingles here, Mr. Irwin,
Here.
Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Here.
Mr. Paul,
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez, here, Mr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Soms,
Here.
9 here, 0 absent.
Thank you. First on the items for the agenda tonight, we have a couple of presentations. The first is for the Black History Essay and Poster Contest winners. Naomi has a whole bunch of citations and
Yes.
awards to give out to people. So we'll ask those individuals to please come forward and we'll present you with their certificates.
Crystal?
Make sure I have the right one.
First off, we'll be starting with Ledyard Middle School winners. First place essay winner is Adrian Kennedy. This is Gary Paul, the chair of the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Here's a certificate for you from the town council. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, great job.
Can you turn on the picture?
Yes.
I'll move in here.
We want the face in the picture. Okay, ready? No, if you do that, Tim, you look like you're laying down behind us. Hold on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Adrian. Second place, Natalie Tepper. Winning, and I have a letter inside for you to read. Thank you for participating.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stand over here.
Stand here for a picture.
Nothing but, yeah, what trip hazards.
That's a few.
Thank you, Natalie.
Good job.
Third place winner, Sophia Holloway. And thank you for participating. This is your prize, and I have a little letter inside for you to read.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You can stand back so we can have a
Oh, that's the
picture.
worst part.
Yeah, I know.
Got it.
Perfect.
Thank you. The high school winners of the essay contest. First place, Angel Spears Johnson. Your essay, there's a letter inside for you and something a little extra for you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Angel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second place winner is Nariah Richardson. Your essay. Thank you for participating, and this is your prize, and there's a little letter inside for you to read. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job, Mariah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wait,
Big
so-
one. Big one.
Thank you.
Third place winner is Aiden Harris. Now, this is not Aiden. Aiden is in San Antonio, Texas, correct?
Yes.
So this is mom, and she's going to pick up the prize for Aiden. Thank you. This is Aiden's prize, and there's a letter inside for him to read.
I'm gonna let him open it though.
Okay, thank you. Wait.
Thank you, Mom.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations, Mom.
Thank you.
Mom, we
Your mom
your
representative.
representative.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you. And before you go, I would like to thank Gary Paul from the Community Relations Committee, the chair of the Community Relations Committee. I would like to thank Kevin Dabrowski, chair of the Town Council. Representing Sergeant McKinney for being a judge is Chief John Rich. And Crystal Whipple was also a judge, and she's from the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. She is a tribal council member. So thank you very much for participating. Thank you.
Yep, just all the kids come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shot of just the kids.
Just the kids, yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
want
Can I have one picture with the kids, please?
Sure, yeah.
Posterity.
That's not everything.
You too, Gary. You too, Gary.
Okay, I gotta look taller, so.
You guys, you just have to squeeze in a little bit closer.
Thank you. Wait, one with the kids.
Just the kids.
Just the kids.
Let's-
One more.
Your
One
stars.
for back, there you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
So on behalf of the town council, I'd like to thank everybody who participated and congratulate all the winners once again. I will have to say, if you don't wish to stay, you don't have to. All right, up next, we have a presentation from Ledyard High School student, Mr. Christopher Houdeshell, who's gonna provide us a briefing on use of pesticides. Mr. Houdeshell, I turn over the floor to you.
We do a little of everything. Pictures.
All right, and before I get started, I do have some information to hand out to you guys.
Thank you very much.
It is my
It is
report.
your
I
report.
read
Okay.
it and I printed it
Oh,
out.
I'm so glad.
If we all have.
You all have it? Oh, never mind. Sorry about
You want a hard copy?
Hard copies are always good.
that.
We have it all on the portal here, so your presentation and your report.
Thank you.
You have an extra copy?
I do. Ready?
The floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Houdeshell. I am a senior at Ledyard High School. For the past 8 months, I've been studying the threat that pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers pose to the local environment, economy, and human health. I have also taken college courses in biology, chemistry, and environmental science, all of which helped me in my research. During my research, I found that these chemical agents are not a small issue, but should instead be considered a major concern. Originally, I prepared a full recount of the conclusions of my research. However, there was no conceivable way I could shorten it into a time-conscious presentation. Instead, I have provided you each with a copy that encompasses the entirety of my research for you to examine at your own pace. And I will present a more brief summary of my most important conclusions. I've also provided a list of my summaries for your reference. The first damage caused by pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers is to the environment. Specifically, these chemical agents decrease biodiversity. One prime example of this decrease is in the disappearance of honeybees due to the phenomenon known as colony collapse disorder. The loss of honeybees could significantly impact the pollination patterns in both nature and agriculture, decreasing the biodiversity of plants and subsequently the animals and ecosystems that depend on them. Colony collapse disorder has many causes. However, one major cause of it, which is growing in prevalence, is the use of pesticides containing neonicotinoids, which are picked up by pollinating bees and carried back to the hive. Although it is bad enough that the use of pesticides is destroying the environment, it is likely to also negatively impact the economy and livelihoods of many individuals who work in agriculture and depend on pollination, like the honeybee. In addition to the environment, the use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers directly damages the economy, especially economies that depend on agriculture, especially in Ledyard, where we have such direct ties to farming, as seen in our agri-science program at our high school. Herbicides can damage the prosperity of farms and reduce the crop production. Most herbicides are intended for a specific type of plant, so when herbicides from residential areas are transported through runoff to agricultural fields, there's a high chance they will impact the crops on the field. Herbicides especially affect the germination process of plants, which could interrupt farmers' preservation of seeds as well as the plant production. The effect on agriculture could lead farmers to having to charge more for their produce, losing business and being forced to sell out to larger businesses, ruining the local economy and many things that make Ledyard Ledyard. The paramount damage caused by the use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers is how their use impacts human health. All fertilizers use nitrates and other nitrogen compounds, which leak into groundwater and contaminate drinking water. Nitrogen can cause immense damage to public health when it gets into drinking water. One issue nitrates cause is the development of methanoglumina. Methanoglumina. It's a hard word.
It is.
In infants, more commonly known as blue baby syndrome. Blue baby syndrome causes death if not treated quickly, and even if treated quickly can lead to brain damage. New research just put out on April 6, 2022, found that the current safe levels of nitrogen are not safe at all and can lead to cancer and birth defects. Although treatment plants can remove nitrates, they are incredibly expensive for small towns like Ledyard, and the use of nitrates in fertilizer only continues to grow. In order to prevent major harm to people's public health, measures need to be taken immediately to limit the use of fertilizers. Although it would be impossible to simply remove the use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers from agriculture, it is not impossible to limit their use on residential areas. The use of chemical agents on residential lawns may seem inconsequential when taken as altogether, they cause significant damages. Entirely banning or limiting the residential use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers is a small price to pay for the protection of the environment, economy, and public health, especially when lawns can be maintained without the use of synthetic and harmful chemicals, with alternatives such as organic lawn maintenance or integrated pest management. If a simple ban on residential pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers is still too much, then an informational letter to each household in Ledyard may prove helpful in encouraging people to make safer choices when dealing with property maintenance. No matter what choice you make, there is no question that action needs to be taken now. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to take any questions you have.
Thank you. Do the council have any questions?
Yes.
John?
So what are the alternatives to herbicides and pesticides?
The alternatives to herbicides and pesticides, as I said, integrated pest management and organic lawn maintenance. Specifically, I'm talking about residential use of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers. So for that, instead of buying synthetic fertilizers, you can buy things such as manure, which will also help, or you can simply opt not use them.
Thank you.
Of course.
Mary?
Yes.
We have an agricultural commission
Mhm.
and they interface with the farmers in town. They may be interested in this information.
Thank you.
I'm sure Roxanne can send them a copy.
Commissioner Rodriguez here. I was going to make the same point. I would love for you to come and give this presentation to the agricultural Commission. But also, I read your report and I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's very much needed information that I would love for the Ledyard residents to read.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
So echoing the other counselors' comments, your information is actually now available, including your report, to the population in Ledyard, because it is available on our website now. So what I would encourage you to do is, on your own, using the power of social media, you can link right to the presentation that's on our website. And it's hosted right on the Ledyard website, so people will see that it was actually briefed here. And they'll also see the video when it's published. So, but on a personal note, I thought your report was well written. I'm an engineer by discipline myself, so I see a lot of really good things happening for you in the future with the AP courses you're taking here and your writing style and the research you've done. I'd be curious to see how far you take this with maybe even some sample tests, laboratory tests, things of that nature, because you've got a lot of empirical data that you have your hands on in terms of research that's been done, but being able to actually see it for yourself take place is another thing entirely. So I hope you continue with this and be persistent with your beliefs and your passion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Echo everything that's been said, and also I would ask that one of your recommendations is sending out an informational letter. If you were to draft that letter and include it with your social media posts and send a copy to the town council, that would be really helpful, because this leaves me with, okay, now what do we do? And your answer to one of the questions that John asked is, that's valuable information. So you've presented the case. Now people who are willing to accept the information want to know what to do. So letter is a great idea. Thank you.
Perhaps the events
That was just thinking the exact same thing,
magazine,
possibly we can put it in the events magazine, the next events magazine.
which ends up in every household. But to echo everyone's congratulations to you on the job well done.
Thank you.
Well done. And I would specifically echo Councilor Ryan's advice that you have the power now to disseminate at will, including your presentation here tonight is recorded. So you can send it on out there.
Of course, thank you.
Very nicely done.
Thank you.
And on a different note, why do we recognize your last name?
I've had 3 sisters go through the high
Okay.
school.
There we go.
That's probably it.
No.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, I'll open the floor to residents or property owners who would like to address the council. Is there anyone?
I would. So if anyone would like to comment on Zoom, please just put your name and address in the chat button.
Is this a good time?
Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you. Real quick, as you know, I submitted a memo to the council regarding what other towns are doing as far as opting out of Public Act 2129 regarding detached accessory apartments. And I hope everyone had an opportunity to read it. If you are concerned about it, I urge that you attend tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Planning and Zoning meeting and express those concerns directly to the commission. My assessment is that the commission does not intend to opt out unless they are encouraged to do so by the public. And I see a real risk, especially in the long term. And so I urge that you read my submittal and see what the other towns are doing. It also lists the reasons they are opting out and so forth. So make some noise if you are concerned about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other residents who would like to address the council? Hearing none, I didn't see anything. Okay, hearing none. Comments to town committee commission board reports, we have none. Comments to town councilors, so on my left. Councilor Ingalls.
I just wanted to say how grateful I am to be here in person tonight. That is all.
Any other councilors? On my left, on my right, I should say, Councilor Rodriguez.
I have about 3. So I wanted to let everyone know in the town council that April is the month of the military child. I recommend that at our next town council meeting that we wear purple to honor the military children that live in our community. Second, it was my honor to help in a small way with the Linda Davis Memorial Celebration of Life ceremony. I obtained donations from local businesses in Ledyard. The comments were pretty much the same. The business owners all echoed how much they love Linda. And thank you to all the local businesses who donated so generously. My last comment is this Thursday, April 14th, 2022, public hearing at 5:30 Town Hall Annex, hybrid meeting regarding the affordable housing plan draft. I highly encourage all to attend. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Oh,
Yeah, I just wanted to, if I could, kind of prepare a open letter in response to the contest committee relations did with the Black History Month contest. This is a personal open letter from me that I would just like to read in. To all, this is an open letter to all involved in the What Does Black History Month Mean to Me contest. I would like to personally recognize and thank everyone involved in the What Does Black History Month Mean to Me contest organized by Town Councilor Naomi Rodriguez, the Ledyard Community Relations Committee, along with the Ledyard Public Schools for all your hard work and participation. A special thank you as well to Sergeant Mike McKinney from the Ledyard Police Department and Tribal Council Member and Education Committee Councilwoman Crystal Whipple. I was both honored and humbled to sit in as one of the judges for this contest. I was deeply moved and inspired by everything I read and saw. Sometimes some of us can take for granted the freedoms and protections that we have today, and like myself, may not have fully appreciated just what Black History Month is really all about. Through those essays and drawings, I was able to see just how important and special Black History Month truly is and why it is so important to celebrate. We all need to remember and recognize these incredible men and women who helped build and shape our country, and those who fought so hard for equality and helped change the way Black people were treated here in this country. It wasn't so long ago when people of color could not get the same education, swim in the same places, ride at the front of the bus, or even drink at the same water fountain. Heroes like Rosa Parks, Claudette Colvin, Barbara Rose Johns, and of course, the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., just to name a few, that have faced that racism head on and helped change the world. We also recognize that the many incredible Black leaders and innovators like Katherine Johnson, who made the Apollo 11 mission possible, or Matthew Henson, who helped make the most famous Arctic expedition in 1909 to the North Pole possible, or the incredible talent of Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who pioneered gospel blues like no one's business. And speaking of blues, the legend himself, Mr. B.B. King, who inspired so many other musicians. And there are so many countless others that helped build and mold this country. From this, we learned that our communities, our towns, states, and country are only made better and stronger when we recognize that it takes us all. When we put away prejudice and we look beyond color, we discover just what we all have in common, and that's the human heart. When we recognize our failures of the past to make a commitment of change for equality for the future, then we can feel confident in our future, confident on what and who we can be as a community and a country. In the essays I read, in the drawings that I looked over, I saw not only the history and the accomplishments of the Black community, but I also saw unity, hope, new beginnings, togetherness. I saw the reason why Black history is so important to not just the Black community, but to every one of us. I see what happens when a people persecuted and treated so unfairly decide to stand up against hate and bigotry and press on for equality. These are lessons for us all. To all the kids who put in all their hard work into these posters and essays, I would tell you, as you continue to learn and grow, you undoubtedly will face many challenges. You may face hate, anger, selfishness, racism, but don't let that become you. Stand up, stand strong, and do not let the dream die, because in you carries the hope for the future, hope for a world that would see the end of hate and the acceptance of all peoples and cultures as equal as human beings. Continue to be an inspiration, continue to be an example, and become a legacy for others to follow. And if you do, you will surely overcome. America can never truly be free until we put away our prejudice and understand we need one another. So again, I thank everybody, and I have been truly blessed to live in such a great community. Thank you, Gary Paul.
The poster contest winners received their awards from Mayor Allen earlier. And you can see the posters here against the wall, and in the back table are other posters that won an award. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council? Council Sutton.
I just wanted to thank, there are about 100 people, but I want to thank and recognize Mary Casabria and Carrie Tatro and all the other people who put on the celebration of Linda Davis's life earlier this month. It was beautifully done, great turnout, and I really felt it was a good send off for Linda. So thanks to those two and everybody else.
It was in the Thames River Times today.
Yep.
See your copy. The last comment by Mary Casabria is, Casabria told the day that Davis touched the lives of so many people. She was 1 in a million, Casabria said. She had a heart of gold and was the go-to person in Ledyard. And the journalist who wrote that for the day was Kimberly Drellich. And I thought it was a great article.
Thank you. Any other comments? The only comment I'd like to make is, usual this time of year, the weather's warming. I saw it today on the way home. Motorcycles, bicyclists, and pedestrians. They were all out in force today because the weather was so nice. I saw some kids that kind of were probably where they shouldn't have been, but they were waiting along the side of the road to go get something out of the middle of the road. And the kids will be kids. So keep your eyes open, keep your eyes peeled. It's that time of year where the people are out there enjoying the weather. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that we have been invited once again, that we haven't done this in the last few years because of the recent pandemic. But the Memorial Day Parade is on this year, and we have been invited as a town council to walk. And I just want to extend that to see what the consensus of the council to walk.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I think it was May 29th, 1 o'clock. So do we want to do the Hawaiian shirt theme again?
Never.
Oh, come on.
I never wanted to.
All right.
I never.
All right, we won't do the Hawaiian shirt theme anymore. I just had to ask the question. That was what we did in the past. Been shot down by Andre Engels.
I think I shot it down last time you brought it up.
And we still
You
wore
can all
them.
wear them. I just will
No,
choose
that's-
something else.
I can't fit any of my Hawaiian shirts anymore. So, all right, so I will forward on to the Lions Club that we will plan on marching. Thank you. Review and approval of the prior meeting minutes.
So moved.
Wait a second.
Second.
Any corrections, discussions? Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yep.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. You have the communication list on the portal. There is one referral for accepting a widening of the road strip on Whalehead Road, and I will refer that to land use. Council committee sub liaison reports, admin.
Admin met tonight. We approved 2 people for committees, one for an alternate to planning and zoning, the other as help me out. The other one was planning and zoning and PMBC. I was right there. It was right on the tip of my tongue. I know. I'm so sorry. We are doing a little bit of homework on questions about putting the question about shall Ledyard allow the retail sale of adult use cannabis on the November ballot. We have some questions that we would like to have answered. And that's really my report.
Thank you. Any questions for admin? Community relations.
Yeah, the Community Relations Committee, we had our first informational meeting this past Monday, April 11th at 6 p.m. over at the Parks and Rec Center. It was also Zoom so that people that could not be there in person could attend. Parks and Rec Director Scott Johnson gave a great presentation on all the programs and the things that they have to offer for the Parks and Rec. Unfortunately, there wasn't much of a turnout, but however, the information is available in the minutes, and they can go online and see that and get that information. It was really a great presentation by Scott, going over all the different things that the Parks and Rec has available to the town. So I would encourage people to go to the website and check that out. And other than that, our next meeting is actually on this Wednesday at 6:30 next Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for community relations? Hearing none. Finance.
Town Council Finance Committee held a special meeting last Thursday, April 7th at 5 p.m. In person with some attendees participating by video. We continued discussing the criteria for ARPA funded projects and we are nearly complete with our recommendations. And the committee decided we would like to review the list and are thinking about each project and how we've developed a rubric to prioritize them if they need to be prioritized. We'd like to do that with the town council at the end of a meeting, a short one, where we have time for other work items, not tonight. And we also briefly discussed which items are listed under the capital improvement program so that residents can vote on those items with the whole budget in May. And everything else is on our agenda for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for finance? Land use.
Land Use and Public Works Committee, we met on April 4th at 6 p.m. Here in person and on Zoom. And really, the only thing that we really they discussed was we had passed a motion to recommend to the council facts to know regarding the retail sale of adult use of cannabis. If the council does decide to put that up on November 8th for the midterm election. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Any questions for land use? Liaison reports on my Councilor Marshall.
Land use met a couple weeks ago, and once again, the line striping at Gallup Hill basketball court is met back on the agenda. Just to refresh your memory, after the hoops were installed and the floor was put down, the contractor came in to line stripe the court. Well, the outer bounds line that defines the size of the court was put too close to the stage. So there's a danger of the kids coming in hot and slamming into the stage. So the first two solutions were too expensive and just replace the floor, restripe it. Just put pads on the stage to protect the kids. That was like a $3,000 bill. A lot of finger pointing going on. The manager said the lines were put in the wrong spot. The guy doing the lines said, no, I paint the lines according to where the hoops are. The hoops are in the wrong spot. So everyone's fighting over who's going to pay this $3,000 for the pads. Well, it's not going to be us because it wasn't our fault. So that's what they're squabbling about. And lo and behold, no one can find the drawings that show where these lines are supposed to be. They're in there somewhere. So we're still looking for them. So more to come on that prior to the next meeting, I hope. It seems silly to fight over $3,000 on a $64 million project, but they are. The summer project at the high school, the wood and metal shops need vent hoods. It's a safety issue. There's been some discussion on this, if these fall under the intent of classroom projects. In my opinion, they do. I believe this might be in finance at the moment because the shop is where those skills are taught. So it is technically, in my opinion, a classroom. It's important to me that the younger generation, just kind of go off on a tangent, learn and be excited about woods and metals because there is a serious shortage of people in the trades. These are high-paying jobs with dignified retirement and benefits, and we need to get more young people excited about working with their hands again and being in the trades. Anyway, enough of that. We received only one bid for the auditorium project on the AV floor and curtains. Came in at $468,000. We only allocated $440,000 for a little shy of the number. So Wayne's going to be coming to finance if he hasn't already to be asking for more money and a bid waiver.
He did today.
Okay. Bill Library is looking different these days. The chimney is gone. As well as the solar panels on the town hall. If anyone noticed when they came in tonight. We haven't received any bids for the sewer feed pump replacement project. So Steve is looking locally for some interest in that. I want to do it. The roof and solar projects at Julia Long Central Office and the Galesbury School are in the RFP stage, and work should start in 2023. And we received 2 bid proposals for the closing of the school projects. Finally, one company named Colliers came in at $64,000 with about 156,000 hours per school. The second bid came in at over $500,000 higher and will take 4 times as long. So long story short, we're gonna need a bid waiver for Colliers. And there's my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Council Marshall?
You have the backstory on those 2 very different bids.
I don't.
Whew.
Yeah, something was wrong somewhere.
That's
Okay.
Yeah, the second company, it's always gonna take like 550 something hours to do this. But Colliers said, no, you can do 156 hours per school. Because we get all the documents together, they just have to go through them and clean them up. So I don't know why.
one is misbidding
Yeah, somebody missed something.
on both extremes.
Right, yeah, there should be someone in the middle.
Okay. Any other liaisons? Councilor McGrattan. My memory is going.
That's right.
Should we turn the names
I don't
on?
see the name.
Put the name
Yeah,
on.
you're
I don't see the name on Zoom.
Housing Authority met last week. They have a grant to rehab the 30 units of elderly housing in Galesbury. Nothing has ever been done to update the apartments, so this is very welcome, and the bids will be open tomorrow. Conservation Commission met last night, and one of the commissioners, David Holdridge, announced that the Connecticut Greenway Council has designated the Tri-Town Trail as a greenway. So what's special about that? It has the right mix of animal and plant life, and the benefit to this status is it makes it easier for them to get grants. Very happy about that.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor McGrattan? Any other liaison reports on this side?
I have
Oh, you got
sorry,
one?
Just a very quick one. Beautification met last week. They're going to be kicking off their fundraising for new brackets and flags for the flag posts down Ledyard Center.
We have brackets on finance agenda next week.
Yeah, if they can't, if we don't grant the ARPA funding, they have to raise the money. But
Gotcha,
either way, they're
okay.
going to be raising money for the flags,
Gotcha,
and they're
okay.
preparing for that fundraising.
And the total dollar amount is 2,500,
25-20,
2520, okay.
and the daffodils look beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot of people get credit for that.
Yeah.
It's a terrific project. It makes me smile. Every single one I see, just it's very special.
Councilor Psalms.
Okay, so I zoned out at the last council meeting, forgot to give you the WPCA report, so this is a little dated. But they met last on March 22nd. The owner of a small water system on Ash Drive is looking for someone to take over their well system. WPCA is discussing this and is determining its obligations, the owner's obligations. More on that to come. Again, this is dated, so I don't have an update, but Stanford Record, which is the contractor that was selected to demolish the Gallopville tank, is now waiting for asphalt plants to open so they can pave an access area to demolish the tank. Previously, they said they were waiting for the ground to freeze. Groton Utilities will continue to put pressure on them to begin the work. WPCA also continued discussion regarding painting the Fairway Drive water tower and voted to accept a proposal from Cortec to inspect the interior and the exterior of the tank for $2,340. They're going to pay that out of capital funds. And they continued discussion on other possible WPCA demolition sites and have received quotes on the Village Drive and Sablewoods pump stations, but they're waiting to see how the Gallup Hill project completes. So hopefully there's been some progress, but I don't know. They did test, Cortec did go and do their work on the tank, so they were inside the tank this past Friday. Also, work on the RFP for the customer service and water operations service continues. The draft came out today. The WPCA was provided with a list of water mains from Groton Utilities and their repair history in the Highlands neighborhood. And several streets were noted having multiple repairs in the past, which requires repaving, including on newly paved streets. So that's a cost to the town. Every time we have a water main break on a newly paved road, we have to dig it up. And it does get paved by the contractor, but still, brand newly paved road has to be dug up and then patched and repaved. So we're thinking down, WPCA is thinking down the road, we need to look at replacing the mains in the Highlands. All of them are 2 inches in diameter. That means there's no fire hydrant service because the mains aren't big enough. And Groton Utilities tells us many of them may have corroded to an inside usable dimension of 1 inch. So that leads to low water pressure. So the WPCA will be looking to apply for grants to replace the system and install fire hydrants with new mains. They also approved an invoice for $24,000 for a water meter purchase to replace the Fox Run meter, which has historically been bypassing every time more water is demanded than the existing meter in place could meter, which meant that we were giving away free water. So they finally have the funds to invest in a meter that will accurately bill for water usage. And they will have a hybrid public hearing at 6:30 p.m. April 26th, prior to the regular meeting for comments on the third of the 3% rate increases, which are a direct result of a 3% rate increase in water from Groton Utilities. And that was my report. Thank you.
Question, to say that the Highlands has fire hydrants.
They have blow off hydrants.
They're not listed. They're shown as fire hydrants.
Are they really on the map?
And the fire department is the one that digs a lot, but they're fire, one's on my property.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
not-
that There's
they're-
not, maybe they can take some water from it, but it's technically not a fire, it's a blow off.
And
What is a blow off?
So they're about this big around, right?
no, it's a fire
It
hydrant.
looks like a hydrant?
No, it's a hydrant.
Okay.
The one on, I know the one on Town Farm, right across from where
Yeah.
my old house was, and there's one on my property.
I will
It's a
go back
fire
and check.
hydrant.
I'll go back. and
It's
check.
fire hydrants in the Highland, all throughout the Highlands, there's fire hydrants, and they're not like blue, like they had an issue with Mountain, where they painted the blue to say that they're for,
Yeah,
to your point,
yeah,
for blow up,
yeah.
or for, basically just doing the flush, the system flushes. No, they're fire hydrants with the flags on them to say that they're hydrants.
I'll go back and check.
Yeah.
I'm sure the fire department knows.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah,
they're labeled as fire hydrants. They don't have anything on. This is not for fire use.
yeah, they would.
Correct.
Okay, good to know. I'll check. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other liaison reports? Hearing none, report of the mayor.
Well, hello, everybody, and I'm sorry I am via Zoom. I re-aggravated a lower back injury today, so my back is packed with ice right now, like a fish at a fish market. But hopefully that will improve. So I'll jump right into it. One thing that we had some unfortunate news on the grant side of things. We were not selected for the community challenge grant for the sewer line extension. We had our consultant engineer that felt like we had checked all the boxes for the grant for about a $1.3 million grant. Unfortunately, there were 52 other applicants as well, and they must have checked all the boxes like we did. So we were one of 53 for that grant, and we did not receive that one. We did, however, finally receive our official commitment to fund from LOTSIP. That is the multi-use path from Ledyard Center to the high school. It's incredible how many steps you go through to get there. But we finally got the final from Connecticut DOT. So we're good to go on that grant. John Herring is our new zoning enforcement official. He started on the 29th of March. He comes to us from Portland. He is a shared asset through the Council of Governments. So he has hit the ground running and started on some things, and we'll be also working on a number of blight issues as well. We have also hired Len Johnson. He is the wetlands official in Preston and another shared opportunity here, but he will be starting with us next week. He has been licensed as a wetlands enforcement official since 1988. Very up to date, very always looking for additional educational opportunities. So I think he will serve us well as well. We did have our Standard & Poor's rating call. Again, that was about an hour-long call with a new rater this year, still Standard & Poor's, but new staff that staffs the call and asks questions and ultimately generates the preliminary rating, which we will receive tomorrow. The town is currently a AA with a stable outlook, and as an eternal optimist, I am hopeful that we will be a AA with a positive outlook. But we will find out tomorrow at about 1 p.m., at which point it goes final the following day, and then the bond sale, this next about $10 million sale, will occur at the end of this month. And this is the continuation for the school projects. Just to that end, thinking about the school projects, we are looking forward to getting the audit done. There's been a lot of grumblings lately with other area schools about the delays from the state of Connecticut in terms of funding these projects, these renovate as new projects. And so we will be going to Hartford and seeking a meeting with the governor, doing whatever we can, because there are stories out there of people waiting 2, 3, and even 5 years to get that funding. And what that means to the town of Ledyard is we issue short-term borrowing, and that short-term interest just costs the taxpayers of Ledyard money year in and year out until the state decides that they want to provide the funding to us. So we're going to look forward to getting that audit done by the independent contractor. As a number of town councilors did, I also participated in the Civics in Action class, which was held live again at the high school. Was nice to have it at the high school again, live and in person. Great to interact with the kids. We saw some great opportunities, some projects. I would say a good number of students expressed concern about mental health. So Councilor Rodriguez, I think, is right on the money in terms of seeking some additional money for mental health assistance for our younger people in particular. But I think it's a key piece here. We did hire a new library director, as you know. Gail Bradbury, after 42 years, is retiring next month, and Jennifer Smith will be joining us as our new library director. She comes to us as an assistant librarian from the town of Waterford. We had a great number of applicants for that role, and we were blessed to be in the position when we had interviews all day one day, and at some point we took a break, and I said, what a great problem that we have this many highly qualified candidates, which in the job market that we're in, it's kind of rare. So it was a huge blessing. I'm looking forward to her starting, which will be May 17th. I received a written complaint about our emergency services response to an incident, and I wanted to share it with you. It's the first one that we've really received as a written concern, but I will explain the situation. The concern was that the ambulance was late to arrive, the fire companies were late to arrive. We had Emergency Services Director Steve Holyfield review the 911 call, the responses as well. And here's what it really came down to. A call came in at 11:05 p.m. for a car into a tree. At 11:08, we had another call for an elderly person with difficulties breathing. At 11:13 that same night, we had yet another automobile accident. And at 11:34, about 15 to 20 minutes later, is when this gentleman's call came in through the 911 system. So very much to the Mashantucket Fire Department turned out, our fire department turned out. There was a delay in the ambulance because 3 ambulances had gone out ahead of this call. And so I explained to the gentleman that expressed his concerns that I actually think we did a heck of a job getting 4 ambulances out in about a 30-minute span. I understand that that maybe doesn't make somebody feel better when it's the ambulance that you're specifically waiting for, but they did a heck of a job. So I haven't heard anything more from him, but I did want to share that with you in case you heard about that. We have the EPPI drill coming up on May 24th. That is an emergency management planning. That's for the EMPG grant, which is the emergency management planning grant. They are now tying those funds that we receive to our participation. And we've always participated, but some towns haven't. And so now they're saying, if you don't participate, do not expect to get those funds. So of course, as we have every year, we will be there. We also have a nuclear safety drill, which is scheduled for November. That is a FEMA evaluated drill. FEMA personnel come in live and they have their clipboards and they go and watch us as we interact with the situation, the hypothetical situation that they pose to us, and then they continue to pose injects after every 15 minutes or something in terms of how the situation might change and how we respond to the change in the situation. It's a great thing to do. It obviously has to do with Millstone and the safety there and how we would get people evacuated or whatnot, but that will be coming up. Good news on the grant fund front, we did get today confirmation that the $20,000 JAG grant for the police radios was approved. So that agreement went back to the state of Connecticut. We turned it around same day. That's going back. So we are now going to be receiving that $20,000 grant. Had a sub-base event today. This was for the towns that are, they consider regional partners to the sub-base. Great opportunity down at the Nautilus Museum, and nice to have people out in person again on a really incredible spring day. First time since 2020. We had a kind of a catastrophic failure of the whole building generator at the town hall. So that large generator down by the lower level doors was a repurposed generator from the Loftus well field. It had served us for 4 years. We had obviously hoped it was going to serve us for a lot longer, but it has failed, and several people have confirmed that it's completely out of service. So as the supply chain issue goes in today's world, we have been quoted anything from 35 to 60 weeks before a replacement is available. So Public Works Director Maslin and Sean Russick from the Buildings and Grounds Department are working feverishly, looking for state bid contracts and anything that we might be able to piggyback onto to get a new propane fired unit, because we don't want to be without when we come up on hurricane season. Then of course, if it did run out to 60 weeks, we're talking about winter again next year. So we really don't want to be there. And then just one last thing with Linda Davis's service, which was amazing. I think it's everything she would have wanted it to be. It was happy, it was funny, it was upbeat. It included far too many cupcakes and goodies, but they were all good. And the wrap up on that today was that Dodie Wade, who is, she works at Holdridge's, she wanted to do a fundraiser for Linda for the town, or for the food pantry. And they did that for the past several weeks. And today they presented us, Sherry and Dodie presented me with a check for $1,000 for our food pantry. So again, Linda is gone, but her legacy lives on. And again, still feeding the people. So it's a great day. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody
You're
have any
welcome.
So Mayor, you mentioned, am I talking to that thing or am I talking to the screen? Mayor, you mentioned the LOTSIP grant for the multimodal pathway. When might we expect to see some motion on that?
Oh, I was hoping, Counselor, that you wouldn't go there because I've been grinding my teeth because of this. As you know, there are two projects that will be going in that same pathway. One is the sewer line extension going from Ledyard Center to the high school, and the other one is the multi-use path. And actually, it was during our budget workshops that I was pulled out of our workshops several times for what was deemed a necessary extension of time by the engineering company to the tune of 400 additional days for engineering and geotechnical work. So, and that is involving the sewer line. So without the sewer line in place, we can't really lay down the path until the sewer line is in the ground. So what was supposed to start technically this month is likely going to be starting in May or June of next year, which is why I grit my teeth.
Sorry, I asked.
That's okay.
Any other questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business. Move on to new business. Would anyone like to amend the agenda? Under new business, seeing done. Item number 1, finance.
So as Councilor Psalms, I would just like to comment, while we were talking about the fire hydrants a while ago, for the folks in the Highlands, if they happen to listen to this, I got a confirmation from Director of Emergency Services, Steve Holyfield, that in fact, they are fire hydrants. So I will now go find out what the flow is on those things. So I'm concerned, but good to know. Thank you, Director Holyfield. Okay, so I move to authorize the Administrator of Emergency Services to overexpend account number 0101202040204001-51130 overtime in the amount of up to $5,000. Funding to be transferred to account number 0101-20-20404001-51130 overtime at year end.
Second. Thank you. Discussion?
So we had a blizzard at the end of January, and when we have a blizzard, we have to man the fire stations, and therefore we ran some overtime with the fire companies with the paid staff, and that's the reason for the overrun.
Any questions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to appropriate $80,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funding to account 2104011-5820240. I'm sorry. 2104011-58240-G0014 for the replacement of the HVAC system in Town Hall.
Second.
So we had $75,000 in the American Rescue Plan funding line item. But as with many things, costs have gone up. We've got a bid of about 78,000, so we rounded it up to 80,000. So we're changing the dollar amount in the ARPA funding line, and we're bringing it forward to spend that money out of the ARPA funding list.
Quick, any questions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Soms,
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to approve a proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $63,484,221, comprised of general government of $28,928,902, and a Board of Ed budget of $34,555,319.
Second.
So we are proposing this budget. We're approving to or agreeing to propose this budget to the taxpayers. As everyone here knows, the Town Council Finance Committee holds 3 budget workshops every year. We go through the entire budget line by line on the general government side. We don't have authority to adjust line items on the Board of Ed, but we did ask many questions. And we made approximately $66,000 in adjustments, and I say adjustments, not reductions, because this year was different. Always in the process, new information becomes available through questioning or just as it becomes available. So the $66,000 is not cuts by the finance committee, it's just adjustments that were all made together. I have thought long and hard about this. You know, we always look for ways to reduce costs, to take out money that doesn't need to be budgeted, but this year, we've had many years of responsible budgeting from this government. And this year, we did not try to cut further. And in my personal opinion, I think to cut this budget would be risky given inflation. Last month, we heard that inflation is running at 7%. This morning, I heard on the news that it's now running at 8%.
8.5.
8.5, yeah. So I think this is a very responsible budget, and if anything, I'm a little worried that maybe we could be in a very different situation at the end of the year. So we're recommending the budget as proposed. And I want to compliment the Board of Education. They are a large part of the town's budget, about 70%, and they came forward with a 2.62% increase, which is, again, very responsible. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Roxanne, call the roll.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Sons.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to set a hybrid model video conference and in-person public hearing date to be held on April 25th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Ledyard High School Auditorium, 24 Gallup-Hill Road, regarding the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
Second.
Thank you. So this is something that we're just setting a public hearing. We do this every year.
Charter.
In accordance with the charter, then we come back and we make possible adjustments based on public input. And then we come back with the adjusted budget to a town meeting in May. I want to take this opportunity to thank the town and Board of Ed staff who put these budgets together. The council gets a lot of compliments for all the hard work we put into it, but it is nothing compared to the amount of work that the department heads and the entire government put into this budget. So I want to thank them for that.
Questions? Roxanne, call the roll.
Mrs. Ingles,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Sons.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move to set the annual town meeting to be a hybrid model video conference and in person regarding the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget on May 16, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Ledyard High School Auditorium, 24 Gallup-Hill Road, and to adjourn to a referendum to be held on May 17, 2022 between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. In addition, should the referendum fail, the subsequent referendum will be held between the hours of 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. in accordance with Chapter 7, Section 6 of the Town Charter.
Second.
Discussion.
Again, just setting the town meeting following the public hearing and the referendum after that.
Thank you. Questions? Roxanne, call the roll.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Sons.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move to adopt a proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 water operations budget in the amount of $1,530,561.
Second.
So the town council does approve the water budget. It does not go to the voters. The town council does not have authority over the sewer budget, only the water budget. This budget, again, is very responsible. This WPCA has managed well in the last 5 to 10 years. They've been setting aside money in addition to paying all the bills and doing all the maintenance required. They can't make money, they can't lose money. It's an enterprise fund. But they've managed their funds very well. They build up capital reserve funds so we can do things like paint the water tank when it becomes necessary. So they work very hard at this.
Questions? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Soms.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item.
I move that we authorize the mayor to execute a 3-year contract with Granica Civic Engagement Platform as presented in the proposal dated March 31, 2022, as follows. Fiscal year 2023, $15,952. Fiscal year 24, $17,068.64. Fiscal year 25, $18,263. In addition, transfer $4,892 from account 101-10201-51067 mayoral assistant to account account 01-12151-53690 MIS operating for software support.
There's a second.
Second.
So we originally, when we first automated meetings, we used a platform called IQM2. IQM2 was purchased by Granicus. We shifted over to the present iCompass. We found that iCompass doesn't work as well as advertised. It's pretty clunky. It doesn't do a lot of the functions that we were told it would. And we really did like IQM2 when we had it. IQM2 or Granicus provides a lot of background that's no longer in our online agendas. You can see that with IQM2, you could see the entire history behind all the committee work on any given action item. We don't have that today. We're going back to, or we're proposing to go back to the original IQM2 under now Granicus. $20,000 a year is a lot of money for software. But we did a study when we originally went to IQM2, and we calculated or estimated that we saved about $50,000 a year in paper, postage, and toner, because everything that we see online had to be printed out and mailed to all the counselors, all the department heads, commission members, boards, committees, all that stuff is now electronic. And if people print it, they print it on their own dime, as opposed to having it go through the mail with several dollars per package. So huge savings there, still worth the money. Recommend we approve this.
Any discussion?
Just one more comment. There was another feature that was pretty handy, which is once the video recording of a meeting is posted, you can just click on that item in the agenda, and it will immediately forward you to that spot in the video recording. So it just makes it easier all around.
And there was one other benefit feature that like to say did an item in action for land use. Once it went through land use, the workflow could then be updated because if it went through admin. Everything that land use did was all part of that. So it was the same agenda item from let's say land use had it first, then it went to admin, and then it went to finance, and then came to the full council. That whole it's the same agenda item throughout, and it just changed the workflow. So when you open and you see like what Roxanne does now with this, we see the specific things on this agenda item. With the IQM2, for those of you who were here when we had it, you could see that whole progression as it went through all of the subcommittees.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, as Councilor Soms said, back then it was costing us $6 or $7 per packet per counselor every week, just for the mail, just for mailing.
So is there a lot of setup that has to be done or any type of training?
Roxanne. Yes, there is. Roxanne basically has to undo what she did.
Working on it now.
Okay, any other comments? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Soms.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles.
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item.
I move to approve one tax refund in the amount of $2,479.01 that exceeds the $2,400 in accordance with tax collector departmental procedures.
Second.
Thank you. So we periodically get one of these requests. The mayor signs a lot of them. And typically, almost always what happens is the property owner has paid their taxes. And then the escrow company also pays the taxes. Very often, it's the town that notices the duplicate payment, but we have to authorize a refund. And the mayor gets many of these each week, but once they go over $2,400, it has to come under the scrutiny of the town council. That is indeed the case here. This was an escrow company that paid it, and we have checked the paperwork, got signatures, and it all appears to be in order.
Thank you. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Would anybody like to make the next item?
I'll make the next motion. I move to adopt a proposed fair housing resolution for the town of Ledyard as contained in the draft dated April 6th, 2022.
Second, Counselor Rodriguez.
Discussion?
This is, we renew this resolution every year.
This is standard.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. Any questions, comments? Roxanne, please call the roll.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingles?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Would anybody like to make the next?
I make a motion to adjourn. Counselor Rodriguez.
Yeah, second.
Second.
I call this meeting adjourned without
We
accepting.
need our,
I know.
we need our official adjourners. Is it Naomi and John?